Okay, this is going to be my top 20 pro wrestling Ironman matches. I've been working on this video for a long time. I finally think this is the right time to do it. The first one that actually asked me to do this video was my brother. Like, he was like, maybe next time we meet up, we could do, rank the Ironman matches or do a top Ironman matches video. But at the time, I was just like, you know what? There just hasn't been enough Ironman matches to really do like a comprehensive list. But yeah, I think this is the right time to do it. I think when you look at the whole realm of pro wrestling, like there really has been a lot of solid Ironman matches over the years, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. So I'm just gonna rank them all, the top 20 right here. So yeah, there was a few matches I wasn't able to get my hands on. So if I missed anything, then you could post in the comment section if you want to recommend anything that was missing. There's actually only one match I did cut from the list. That's actually the Beach Blast 93 match between Rick Rude and Dustin Rhodes. But yeah, man, you know what? Let's just get right down to it. At number 20, I'm going to go with Sasha Banks taking on Charlotte Flair from Roadblock End of the Line. I believe this was the December 2016, the last pay-per-view to end 2016. So yeah, obviously Charlotte and Sasha had a hell of a feud. They were able to have a championship match at WrestleMania with Becky Lynch in the triple threat, and the feud really carried on to Hell in a Cell. And this is kind of like the blow off match right here. You know what? When I watched this match back, I think it was a tough task, especially on the mainstream level, to ask two women to go out there for a half hour. Crowd reaction wise, it was a little bit tough to sit through. It was a little bit tough to really even get into this match. But there's a lot to like about it, though. There's definitely a lot to like about the finish, with Sasha actually tapping out right before the buzzer expired. I thought that was great drama. And then the sudden death was pretty brutal as well. If you guys remember, Sasha was actually bleeding from the mouth, and Charlotte was able to successfully win the belt here. So, yeah, a lot to like there. But I think when you watch this match back, you see how much better both girls got. Charlotte is just in so much better shape than she was 5 years ago. So that really stood out about it. But yeah, still good enough to be on the list. I got that at number 20. At number 19, I got the Hardy Boys taking on the Bar of Cesaro and Sheamus. This was actually from Great Balls of Fire. I believe it was 2017. Half-hour Iron Man tag team match. The only time I think WWE did a tag team Iron Man match. And you know what? This ended up, when I first put it on, I was just like, man, this just isn't working. But you know what? It ended up being a lot of fun, though. I actually ended up really liking it. Cesaro and Sheamus really kind of, really controlled the match, really kind of took the upper hand. And, eventually Cesaro actually got a really screwy finish as Jeff Hardy did the Swanton Bomb, and Cesaro actually got the pinfall while Jeff was recovering from the Swanton. So I thought that ending was great, with Cesaro actually going over to put Cesaro and Sheamus up 4-3. Really good ending. And, I did think the match got off to a slow start, but like the last couple of minutes ended up being a lot of fun. I thought Jeff and Matt actually, even at this point, obviously they're past their prime at this point, but the ending, the last couple of minutes was just a lot of fun there. So I got that at number 19. At number 18, got Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. This is from TNA Final Resolution 2007 half-hour Ironman match. This is the rubber match in the trilogy between Joe and Angle. This is TNA, Kurt. I got to do my Jeff Jarrett impersonation. But, yeah, you know what, man? Only a dumbass would have booked this match. I think when you look at this trilogy, this is like a example of what not to do if you're a pro wrestling booker, because you could have really spread this out. Even after the Turning Point match, you could have really built up to a rubber match. But when you have Angle go over in this fashion, where you're having Joe actually, lose 3 falls to Angle, it just, it really did hurt Samoa Joe. I think, a lot has been said about this match. I think even True Slayer really hated the Hard Justice match. I remember his Hard Justice review. He was like, free Samoa Joe, free Samoa Joe. But I'm sure the Final Resolution match, it drove a lot of people crazy, especially Samoa Joe fans. It was just really poor booking. I really thought, and I really did think by this time, you kind of, what started out as like dream match of the century, where we all loved Joe and Angle, you almost got like tired of watching them wrestle at this point. But hey, you know what? It's still Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. There's still a lot to like about the match. I just thought the way they booked this thing, and even some of the execution with a lot of angles, reversals, it just looked, it could have been a lot better. Angle thinks he's the greatest pro wrestler of all time, and in a lot of ways, I do agree. But when you watch matches like this, you could definitely see a lot of flaws in Kurt Angle's game. I hate to say it, but yeah, Angle Joe, half-hour Iron Man match, still good enough to make the list. It wasn't a bad match. It's just I just think when you look back at Samoa Joe, I think matches like this really did hurt him. Number 17, I'm going to go with Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler. This is from Extreme Rules, half-hour Iron Man match for the Intercontinental Championship. So you know what? At this point, especially in 2017, this is right in the middle of WWE Network, giving us really long pay-per-views to kind of, sell you more bang for the buck. And one of the side effects of it was I thought a lot of the crowds just kind of, when you get to the main event of a lot of these shows, a lot of the crowds are just burned. And this is definitely a perfect example of that. The fans were it just seemed like they were kind of bored within the actual match. If anyone watches this back, you'll notice it seems like the fans are trying to keep themselves entertained by counting down the clock, kind of like mocking the match. I don't know if that was exactly what was going on, but it definitely did feel like it. The match actually did go to sudden death. Kurt Angle came out, restarted the match. Drew McIntyre actually helped Ziggler win the match. This is when Drew was a heel at the time. But there's a lot to like here about Rollins' performance. I thought him and Ziggler both looked athletic from an athleticism standpoint. I thought they both looked sharp. But at the same time, I don't know. I thought the match could have been better, and the crowd just wasn't with them for the bulk of this match. But there's a lot to like, especially from Rollins. I thought he busted his ass here, but the best thing about this match is that it was for the Intercontinental Championship. I thought it gave the IC title, legitimacy, credibility that it hadn't had in years. So I do like that about it. But yeah, it's definitely one of the weaker Iron Man matches that we've seen, at least in the United States, without a doubt. Number 16, I'm going to go with the Fatal 4-Way. Super Tuesday NXT. This happened last year during the pandemic. If you guys remember, Karrion Kross actually suffered I believe it was a pectoral injury. And he had to vacate the title. So they had a Fatal 4-Way for the vacant NXT Championship. So you had Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, and Johnny Gargano in a 1 hour Iron Man match. Whoever got the most falls in an hour will win the championship. Very reminiscent of the ROH crowning of a champion match. It almost seemed like they got the idea from that. Not necessarily the same exact stipulation, but pretty good stuff here. I do remember it seemed like a lot of people were very underwhelmed with the match. I thought it definitely could have been better. It seemed like a lot of guys just kind of taking turns one-on-one, a lot of breakups. I thought it could have been a little bit more creative, but at certain times it was spectacular. To say that these guys didn't give a great effort or didn't put it on the line, I'd be lying. I think the finish is what kind of hurt the match too. Doing a non-finish here with Cole kind of hitting a shining wizard and tying this thing up. I think a lot of people felt a little bit let down. So Adam Cole and Finn Balor actually ended up scoring I believe it was 2 falls apiece. So Regal actually had to come out and, make a rematch between Adam Cole and Finn Balor the very next week. And that person would become the NXT champion. I believe Finn Balor actually did end up winning the NXT title once again. But yeah. Pretty good Iron Man match. I thought, for a free television main event, you couldn't ask for anything more. Still pretty good, but I think it could have been better, especially the timing of the match is a little bit weird too. But I thought they made the most of it considering the circumstances. Number 15, we got John Cena taking on Randy Orton from Bragging Rights. 1 hour Iron Man match. So Randy Orton actually comes into this as the champion after beating Cena at Hell in a Cell. So, all right, here's the thing with Cena and Orton. I actually did enjoy a lot of their matches. And it's funny, they never ended up having a match at WrestleMania. And I think the WWE did a pretty good job during the brand extension of keeping Cena and Orton separate. It's one of the best things that came out of the brand extension. Like Cena and Orton were like the two young guys of the brand extension. Orton on Raw, Cena on SmackDown. They never really touched, I want to say, until maybe SummerSlam 2007. That was like their first official, big money match. And, I always thought a lot of their matches were really strong. They always got great crowd reactions. The SummerSlam match was good. Even some of their matches that kind of had DQs and no finishes in 2007, even in 2009, were really good. I thought their matches were, could have been a lot better had they had proper finishes. But I think when you got to 2009, I think a lot of people were tired of watching them wrestle. I think there was definitely a burnout period, especially after the 60-minute Iron Man match. So give both guys credit. I know Cena and Orton have taken a fair share of criticism over the years for their wrestling, but the one thing you can't take away from either guy is, both guys can say they wrestled in a 60-minute Iron Man match. But what kind of hurt this match for me were, there's just a lot of time here where they were buying time. They actually had a stipulation here that after a fall, you had to have a 30-second break. So that kind of killed like 10 minutes right there, because it actually went 6-5. And then there was this whole, just a lot of like outside shenanigans here with Orton playing with the pyro, trying to light John Cena on fire by, playing with the pyrotechnics area. I thought that was kind of cheap. It was creative. You never really seen anything like it before, but I don't know. It just made the match seem a little bit too, over the top in terms of the non-wrestling theatrics. But yeah, still a lot to like here. I thought whenever they were in the ring, I thought it was pretty engaging stuff. And I got to say, the crowd was pretty good here. They were actually in Pittsburgh once again for an Iron Man match. But Cena successfully goes over as he blocks Randy Orton's punt, counters it into the STFU, and Cena wins the belt back. I guess this was pretty much the match that ended the feud. So yeah, that's Cena and Orton from bragging rights. Number 14, I'm going to go with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose from FCW. This is from September 18th, 2011. It's a 30-minute Iron Man match. It went into sudden death overtime. I watched this back. It was actually on the Shield Blu-ray or DVD. And it really does hold up. Seth Rollins, this is 1 year removed from him dropping the Ring of Honor World title at Glory by Honor 9. And I thought he was, him and Dean Ambrose are awesome. Ambrose, you gotta keep in mind, Ambrose really got himself into shape since his last show in Evolve. Like he looked great here. And yeah, the sudden death was just great. Rollins was just like nonstop, hitting the ropes. Like he didn't let up one breath. Like this whole sudden death overtime. Rollins ends up winning with the God's Last Gift in sudden death to beat Dean Ambrose 3 falls to 2. And it kind of got me thinking, like, yeah, man, that God's Last Gift, that's something Rollins should have been using as a finisher after they banned the curb stomp. But yeah, great showing between Rollins and Ambrose. Just good stuff. It really makes you appreciate how hard Ambrose worked when he first got to FCW. So I got that at number 14. Number 13, going to go with Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. Backlash, ultimate submission match, 30 minutes. Oh yeah, so this technically they did not call this an Iron Man match, but it was an ultimate submission. There is a clock and there was a scoreboard. Angle just talked about this match recently. He said that one of the things that they screwed up on was not having an actual scoreboard and a clock for the crowd. On TV you were able to see it, but I think that's one of the things that did hurt the crowd reaction. So yeah, I've just talked about this match in the Backlash review, Backlash 2001. Yeah, some people are split on it. I'm kind of in the middle on it. I thought it was great, but still, I didn't think it was one of Angle and Benoit's better matches. The best thing about this match was both guys were able to really experiment with different submissions that they don't normally use. And when they put on the ankle lock and the crossface, they definitely felt credible compared to all the rest of the other submissions that they did. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weirdly booked match. Some people thought it made Benoit look weak to have him tap that easily to Angle, but it depends on how you look at this. But, people are going to have mixed feelings on it. I think a lot of people think it was boring. But then again, even though it did have a lackluster crowd, as Kurt Angle said, I think when you see the finish, Benoit, the finish here with Benoit making Angle tap, I thought it came out great. And it did go into sudden death overtime as well. But yeah, enough has been said about the match. But yeah, I would definitely count it as an Iron Man match, even though this is the one match that WWE didn't technically label an Iron Man match. Number 12, I'm going to go with Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels. This is a half-hour Iron Man match from Raw. Homecoming to the USA Network in 2005. You know what? Good match here between Angle and Shawn. It ended up being a draw. They ended up going 2-2. No sudden death overtime. Angle was playing a heel and didn't want any more Michaels. I would definitely say this. I think it's the weakest out of the trilogy. I think Angle and Michaels had another match down the road after this, but I would definitely say this was the weakest one. I think what made the WrestleMania match so engaging was you just didn't know who was going to submit or get pinned first. So you kind of take that away here. So it wasn't as enticing, I would say. But yeah, it's still a lot to like about this match. Both guys are actually able to even this thing up at 2 apiece. I just remember like some of Shawn's super kick at the last second was pretty cool. Angle going for the angle slam off the top rope. They were still able to work their magic. But I think what hurt the match is just the no finish. I just think a lot of people felt a little bit cheated at how the match would end. But you still got Angle and Michaels for a half hour. I wanna say this is the longest match they had. I could be wrong about this. Maybe the WrestleMania match went over, but yeah, Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, the homecoming to the USA Network, which I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the return to the USA Network, but I could be in the minority there. So let's move on. Number 11, I got Rick Rude taking on Ricky Steamboat. This is actually from Beach Blast. 1992 half-hour Ironman match. Yeah, so at the time, I thought Rude, the combination of Rude and Steamboat at the time, from an athletic standpoint, I think at the time, you're talking about two of the most athletic guys in the business. I thought Rude did some really good selling for Steamboat, really selling the ribs on a lot of those poses, so I thought that was good stuff. The biggest gripe with the match was they didn't keep the clock and the scoreboard up enough during the actual match, and I thought that definitely did hurt it. But yeah, man, I thought this was great stuff, especially for that time. Steamboat, it was a great comeback from Steamboat. Steamboat was pretty much down 3-1 throughout the bulk of the match, but he was able to actually win this thing 4-3. Basically counters a sleeper hold from Rick Rude. Jumps up onto the top turnbuckle, does the Bret Hart Roddy Piper finish. Doesn't exactly bridge back, but Rick Rude's ribs give out, and Ricky Steamboat's able to successfully win this match from Beach Blast 92. Yeah, I thought this was good. I thought this was a lot better than the Beach Blast 93 match that Rude had with Goldust. But yeah, definitely good stuff. But I'll say this about these WCW matches in the early 90s: the environment was just kind of weak. I think the environment, and even in the Rude and Goldust match from 93, it just the whole feel of the company just felt a little bit outdated. And number 10, I'm going to go with Triple H versus Chris Benoit. This was from Raw. I believe it was July 26, 2004. So Benoit had just beaten Triple H at Vengeance, where Eugene actually accidentally screwed Triple H out of the match. And I believe the very next night on Raw, Evolution did a beatdown on Eugene with Orton and Ric Flair and Batista. They all just kind of, it was like, your typical Four Horsemen beatdown, very reminiscent of the Four Horsemen days. So Eugene actually came out and played a huge part in this match. That kind of sucked to a degree, but it definitely made sense. The whole point of the match was to set up Eugene and Triple H at SummerSlam. But yeah, Triple H in 2004. The interesting thing about Triple H at this time was, I think after all the criticism that he took, and the poor opponents that he had in 2003, I think his stock really was low, especially in in the eyes of a lot of wrestling purists. And I think he wanted to kind of get a lot of respect back. And, you know, what better way to do it than to wrestle guys like Chris Benoit and Shawn Michaels, especially Benoit in the Iron Man match. And, you know, even though Triple H wasn't in his prime here, one of the things you'll notice about Triple H in 2004 is that he was going long and he was having quality matches with really good opponents. And, you know, I think the Benoit match at Vengeance went about like 38 minutes. And obviously this went an hour. So for Triple H to hang in there with Benoit for a whole hour, yeah, it was quite ambitious. And he got the job done. I thought this was probably the weakest Iron Man match up to this point. And I think crowd reaction wise, I don't think Pittsburgh, especially for these two guys, was an ideal market, ideal setting, you know, to get the best crowd reaction possible. But, you know, as the match progressed, you know, I think Benoit won the fans over. Triple H did get a lot of fan support here. But, yeah, this is an incredible title defense from Benoit. You know, he had a huge comeback here. He was able to come back from 3-1 and actually win it at 4-3. After Evolution came down to try to screw Benoit, Eugene came out, and you know, Eugene basically, you know, cost Triple H the match. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to like about the Iron Man match between Triple H and Benoit. Really underrated stuff. I think it is underrated. It's definitely not their best match together, but you know, the Benoit Triple H combination. It's probably the match where two guys it's probably the match where two guys mutually respected each other more than any other combination, I would say, in WWE history. You know, Triple H, I remember Triple H said that the night where they did the Benoit tribute, he said, yeah, he respected Chris Benoit more than anyone else in the world. So, I mean, that covers a lot of ground. And I remember even after Benoit had his moment at WrestleMania 20, he still felt like his dream match or dream scenario would be to wrestle Triple H one-on-one for the championship at WrestleMania. So I think that speaks volumes to how much Benoit respected Triple H as well. So there we go with that. So I got Triple H Benoit from Raw at number 10. At number 9, I'm going to go with AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels. This is from Against All Odds, 2005. So AJ came in as the X Division Championship. Yeah, so this match was used for Christopher Daniels. It put him over huge as a heel. So the match actually went into sudden death overtime. This is when Daniels did the no, because he wanted there to be a winner. Then Dusty Rhodes, you know, restarted the match. Then there would be sudden death. But yeah, the visual here of AJ, you know, you could actually see the blood flowing from the forehead as Daniels had on the Koji clutch. Really good drama, and the ending here was awesome. You know, basically AJ counters the best moonsault ever into a Hurricane Rana, and then he transitions into the Styles Clash, all bloodied up to pin Christopher Daniels. The one thing I didn't like about the Against All Odds match, just the environment. Like, if you're not used to watching TNA, and you finally go back to TNA, you hear Don West and Mike Tenay, you're like, man, this environment just sucks. You know, you're seeing the same. One of the problems is you're seeing the same fans over and over again in the front row. And I don't know, like the Impact Zone environment. There was a time when I thought it was actually really good. I thought it was like a family-like atmosphere. But if you're not used to it, it kind of feels a little bit flat. And I thought the Against All Odds match just had a little bit of a weaker environment. But it's just a minor gripe here. You know, AJ and Daniels had really good matches, so I got that at number 9. At number 8, I'm going to go with TJP versus Josh Alexander. This is from Impact. The match just happened during the summertime. I believe Josh Alexander, the X Division champion. Him and TJP, give them. This is going to get bonus points because they went a whole hour. Plus, they probably went longer than any other combination on this list. I mean, the sudden death went about maybe 5 minutes, I want to say. So yeah, great stuff from TJP. You know, TJP basically playing the underdog the whole match. Josh Alexander really did control, you know, the bulk of this match. I thought he played a great heel. TJP took a lot of punishment. Yeah, you know, one of the cool things about the match was I thought the commentary was really good here. The commentary really stood out. Josh Matthews and D'Lo Brown doing commentary here. And, you know, just the way the Impact roster, it seemed like it just grew as the match. They all came out more and more as the match progressed. And I thought that actually helped the match to a degree. Yeah, I mean, what really stood out here was the ending. I mean, Josh Alexander had the ankle lock locked in, and TJP just kind of reversed it and bridged. He did like a bridge reverse to it to pin Josh Alexander right before the clock expired. I thought that was awesome. And I love the way Josh Alexander still was able to fight off TJP and win the match after dominating the whole match. So yeah, really good stuff, and really eye-opening match. I would definitely say from what I've seen, I haven't seen a lot of Impact, but this is definitely the most buzz I think an Impact match got in years. And in some ways, it really makes me want to check out Bound for Glory, next month when it does happen. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe they could do a rematch. I don't know if they should go an hour, but maybe a rematch is definitely what's in the cards there. So I got that TJP versus Josh Alexander number 8. TJP still has it, man. I thought he looked great here. He's got to be like almost 40 now. I know he started young, but still it's been a long ass time since I started seeing TJP. It had to be at least since 2006. All right, so at number 7, going to go with Sasha Banks versus Bayley, NXT TakeOver Respect. Awesome match here. A lot better than the Sasha and Charlotte match. The crowd here was just great. This wasn't the NXT Brooklyn type of environment, but still, like, you just had a lot of good stuff here. I thought Sasha and Bayley, from an athletic standpoint, I've never seen a female combination look this athletic before. Both girls just looked so athletic. It just was so fast paced. It just had a lot of emotion to it too. I mean, Sasha actually made this little girl cry in the front row. I mean, the little girl was actually crying when Sasha was winning. Then she was crying again when Bayley actually won. So very multidimensional in terms of emotions. Bayley just looked incredible here. The way she was able to, Bayley to Bayley, a lot of, Sasha's offense. They played off of the Brooklyn match beautifully here. When Bayley did the Hurricane Rana, Sasha actually lands on her feet. And, some of the transitions to Sasha's submissions were just really, really good here. Yeah, great stuff. I think even a lot of people like this match better than the Brooklyn match. I think crowd reaction-wise, the Brooklyn match really stands alone over this. But I think in terms of the actual wrestling, this might be a little bit more satisfying. So, yeah, Sasha Banks and Bayley, yeah, great stuff. Half-hour Iron Man match. I thought it was great. Number 6, some people might think I'm overrating it, but, I'm a huge Ring of Honor fan especially during the Gabe Sapolsky, the heyday years. I would say I'm probably a bigger Ring of Honor fan than anybody during the Gabe and Adam Pearce years. But then there's other guys like Steel Brown and maybe even, a lot of other guys that actually do like the product now, which is cool. But I'm just more of an old school, Ring of Honor fan. So obviously I love crowning of a champion, crown the first ever ROH champion, 60 minutes, very different from the Fatal 4-Way from NXT. So if you actually got pinned here, if you got pinned or submitted, you would get a -1. But if you got a pin, you got 2 points. So it was really cool. So you had Low-Key, Daniels, Spanky, and Doug Williams, the first ever crowning of a champion match. Low-Key actually wins it after actually being down -1 from taking the last rights from Christopher Daniels. Low-Key was able to come back and actually win this thing. Yeah, what really stood out here was just the work ethic, the sweat, the blood, sweat, the tears, the hard work, the heat. They're in Philadelphia in the middle of the summertime where there was no air condition. You see, Low-Key was actually exhausted after he won the ROH World Championship. It's shocking to see what reputation Low-Key developed over the years, because he just came across such a good person after the match ended, dedicating the championship to Russ Haas, Charlie Haas's brother, who had just passed away. So I thought, I just thought this match was great. Daniels played a great heel. Whenever Daniels and Low-Key were going at it here, it just looked like, the most athletic combination you might have ever seen compete in a wrestling ring. Like it looked that good. And there was just some creative things here. The highlight of the match was the Chaos Theory into the Dragon Sleeper from Low-Key. I thought that was awesome. But yeah, Low-Key wins the first ever ROH World Championship in the Murphy Wreck. Awesome match. All right, so at number 5, I got Kenny Omega versus Pac. This is the AEW Iron Man match right before the Revolution pay-per-view in 2020. Yeah, this is the rubber match to Kenny Omega and Pac. I thought it was awesome stuff. Kenny Omega actually wins in sudden death overtime. It really, the crowd was great. I think the Omega Pac, I think years and years from now, like if AEW ever takes off, like you're going to look back at this match and be like, yo, this is like kind of like what Daniels and Low Ki were from Ring of Honor. Like you could definitely see, Omega and Pac like being, the two homegrown talents that really busted their ass and made, AEW what it was. So yeah, just great stuff. And, I've said this before when we were talking about the best Dynamite matches and all that stuff. But, for Omega to, put his body on the line, to take this kind of abuse and punishments with the table spots and the submissions and the selling of the arm right before, the biggest pay-per-view ever up to that point, the Young Bucks at Revolution, it was a ballsy effort from Kenny Omega. So, Omega Pac, sudden death overtime. February 2020, I got that at number 5. Number 4, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Bound for Glory 2005, 30-minute Iron Man match. This is the rematch. All right, so a lot of people thought the Angle and Michaels from Raw Homecoming, they thought they kind of bit the idea from TNA. But yeah, it was a little bit weird how, they had announced this match first, I believe, and then all of a sudden, they announced Angle and Michaels for the Raw Homecoming match. So I do remember, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels got a lot of attention because of that, especially on the dirt sheets. But what I like about the Bound for Glory match, Bound for Glory 2005, TNA had a lot of momentum. They were coming off of their best pay-per-view, arguably Unbreakable 2005. They had just debuted on Spike TV. So, the match here between AJ and Daniels had a lot of anticipation. I think they had a lot of pressure on them. I do think the Bound for Glory 2005 atmosphere was a lot better than, a lot of the earlier pay-per-views. And it just felt more crisp. It felt crisp. I think when a lot of people saw AJ and Daniels wrestle here, you kind of saw them in the same light as some of the best technical wrestlers that have ever done it before. And, the finish was a little bit unrealistic. It was 0-0, but AJ was able to hit a Styles Clash right before the buzzer expired. Like a millisecond right before it expired. So a little bit unrealistic, but in terms of the actual wrestling, it was just such a gut check from both guys. It was just crisp. It was athletic, hard hitting. Really everything you could ask for. It just came off great. So it really put both guys over to the next level. I would definitely say that. So at number 3, got to go with Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar. This is a 60-minute Iron Man match from SmackDown, September 2003. The backstory here was that Kurt Angle, his sister had just passed away, but he was still able to go out there and go out and perform at his best. That's something Angle's always been able to do. Even when his father passed away at an early age, he would always kind of use it as inspiration instead of just using it to mourn. So yeah, Angle and Brock. This was a great way to kind of showcase Brock as a heel. I think a lot of the Iron Man matches, they were great heel showcase matches. So, Brock was able to, use the steel chair, get disqualified, but still really control the match. So, a lot of what kind of gets lost here is how awesome Brock looked here. I know Brock was really stalling and for time throughout a lot of the match, but through the bulk of the match, it was really fast paced, and Brock really did a lot of good work here. Like Taz even said, whether you like this man or not, he's working his ass off in there, and he really did. Brock looked incredible here. All right, so my biggest gripe with the match is that if they were going to go a whole hour, I thought maybe you could have spiced it up and just did a lot more mat wrestling. It's funny, I think this had the least amount of just chain wrestling. Would have loved for them to do maybe 10 minutes of just, maybe amateur wrestling, chain wrestling, just a little bit more mat oriented. But, it was really high on action. I would say that this was probably the fastest paced 60-minute Iron Man match I think the WWE's ever done. The funny thing is, a lot of people, especially on the internet wrestling community, didn't really care for this match as much as the WrestleMania match. I remember one of the complaints was there was too many ankle locks. I really did think Kurt really did overuse the ankle lock. But other than that, I think the match is still great. I think it's fast paced. Angle busted out the moonsault. He actually did a pin with the belly to belly. So you would actually see falls happen from moves that guys wouldn't normally stay down for. Typically that would happen in an Iron Man match the longer it does go on. But Brock definitely did play a great heel here. I really think he did. He controlled the match. He sacrificed the first fall with the steel chair shot, but he was able to control the whole match after that. And, the match basically ends. Angle's trying to tie it up with the ankle lock. Brock is able to fight it off, and the time expires as Brock is about to tap, but he does not tap. So Brock wins the championship back. I did want to say this about the match. I wish the match did happen on a pay-per-view. I wish it had happened at either Vengeance or No Mercy, maybe one of the SmackDown pay-per-views. I definitely think that would have been the way to go. I understand why it didn't happen. I think they wanted the match at SummerSlam to be the official rematch, to sell pay-per-views. But I always wish that the match would have happened on a pay-per-view. But at the same time, they kind of advertised this as the season premiere of SmackDown, the first ever Iron Man match on network television. Even though it did have commercial breaks, it still ended up being pretty good. But at the same time, I do regret this whole thing though. I've talked about this during the SummerSlam match, and I still think Brock turned face. Or, I'm sorry, I think Brock did turn heel a little bit too soon. I think it was a little bit unnecessary. And I think this whole comeback for Kurt Angle turning babyface, winning the championship, I think it hurt both guys at the end. Because when you look at this match right here, and then you look at where they were after WrestleMania 20, neither guy was competing after WrestleMania 20. So in a lot of ways, I do think the direction of Brock and Angle in the summer of 2003, I think it hurt both guys in the long run, if that makes any sense. And number 2, I'm going to go with The Rock versus Triple H. This was from Judgment Day, 2000, 1 hour Iron Man match. Rock actually walks in as the champion. When I look back at this match, you know what? It would have been interesting to see how this would have played out at WrestleMania if they had the Iron Man match. Because when you think about it, WrestleMania 2000 was in the exact same arena, exact same venue that WrestleMania 12 was in. Anaheim, California, same exact spot. So, but do it in Louisville, man. It was a smaller arena, but the crowd was just awesome here. I would say in terms of crowd reaction, this was the best Iron Man match in terms of the actual crowd. Because the Rock his popularity was at an all-time high in terms of him being a babyface. Shawn Michaels was a special guest referee, which was good because Shawn actually screwed The Rock in the first ever SmackDown main event back in August of 1999. So Shawn really teased, screwing The Rock with the super kick. So I thought that really played into the match. But yeah, once again, just like Brock in his Iron Man match, this was really just Triple H just kind of outsmarting The Rock and just being a better heel. And, really dictating the tempo. And, Triple H was great here, man. He showed a lot of emotion before the match. He even told the McMahons and Steph, he said, I want you to go in the back because I'm going to make history on a whole lot of levels, and I'm going to do it in front of the people with you guys in the back. So, yeah, I love the pre-match promo from Triple H. I thought Triple H really wrestled an awesome match here. Rock was just a great babyface. And, give The Rock credit. He's one of the few guys to ever go out there and wrestle 60 minutes. And, in a lot of ways, I think, they really have a lot to be proud of here. The only thing I'll say about it, I think the match was a little bit too, it's more sports entertainment oriented than I think Shawn and Brett was. So that's why, it's not my personal pick. And I do think they relied on too much interference at the end, which is always kind of cheap. Obviously, Undertaker coming out as the American Badass. It's one of the best returns ever. Vince's reaction to Undertaker is just priceless. That's one of the highlights of the match for me. So Undertaker makes his American Badass debut, and the funny thing is it's actually The Rock that gets disqualified, because when Shawn gets up, the only thing he sees is Undertaker, interfering on The Rock's behalf. So The Rock actually does lose the fall. Rock gets screwed. So they're throwing trash into the ring. It just worked. It really worked. And, Triple H and Vince, walking backstage, Vince's facial expressions are just priceless as, Triple H and his family are walking out with the championship. It was just, magical night, magical pay-per-view. Judgment Day 2000 was a great show, but you just kind of wonder, maybe this would have been, better off as a WrestleMania main event for WrestleMania 2000. But yeah, man, great. That crowd was great though. So Louisville, Kentucky, got to give yourself credit, because that's definitely the best crowd reaction I think they've ever had for an Iron Man match, without a doubt. And then at number one, I'm going to go with Bret Hart taking on Shawn Michaels, Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12. I'm going to say this about, I've said so much about this match over the years. A lot of you guys know it's still my favorite WrestleMania match. And so obviously it's still my favorite Iron Man match. My brother was telling me this about the match, and I agree with him. Like, one of the things that makes this match special was that it's face versus face. I think when you look at a lot of the other Iron Man matches, the heel versus babyface dynamic can get a little bit annoying, especially when Brock is cheating, or, Triple H is, using the steel chair and the ropes to cheat and gain the advantage. So you have that heel, kind of dominating the tempo of the match, but that wasn't the case with Bret and Shawn. Now, I think for the most part, I think Bret did cause Shawn a little bit more punishment. I think Bret definitely was in control for a lot of the match. But, the other thing I like is just the competition. I just think from a competition standpoint, there's a lot of real things going on in the ring. I think another thing is, if you were going to do a movie on the Montreal Screwjob, obviously this match is kind of the bridge to the whole Screwjob. It really is. It really shows you the dissension. And there's just a little things here and there. Just really, it's scary when you think about how similar a lot of the mannerisms and a lot of just how similar this was to the Screwjob, in terms of, Bret just kind of complaining about the match going to overtime. He's in the exact same spot he was with Monsoon as he was with Vince when he spit on him. So just little things like that. I thought Shawn's athleticism here was just awesome. Obviously the match was a little bit slow paced for some people at spots, but Shawn really just busted out some amazing high spots here and there. I also thought like both guys put a lot into this match in terms of the preparation. I don't think Bret ever looked better. Bret looked in amazing shape here. It's a shame that he didn't stay, after this match is over, because I thought in terms of just, the way Bret looked in terms of his conditioning, he never looked better, because he put a lot of effort into the training here, and so did Shawn. And I even remember Bret saying that he admired how focused Shawn was. And this is someone that he actually ended up hating. So, say what you want about Shawn Michaels. I know Jim Cornette and so many other people think he was a prick in real life. But when it came down to, performance, Shawn was extremely focused. And, he was an awesome wrestler, no matter what you want to say about him. So, yeah, man. A lot to like about the match. I think the 1 hour time limit draw, I liked it, man. And Shawn winning in sudden death, I thought it was really good. So Shawn actually just wanted to go an hour. He didn't like intend for this to be an Iron Man match, but then they pitched the idea of just doing the Iron Man thing. And I like it though. I like the fact that neither guy was able to beat each other in the first hour. I thought it made it more competitive. I think it's kind of cheap sometimes especially when you do like an Angle Joe thing, or, an Orton Cena thing where you get 6 falls, 5 falls. It's just a bit much. I think it brings more value to the finish, not to do an oversaturation of pinfalls. So that's another reason why I like it. But, it might become like a generational thing with the way people feel about this match. But, I still think in a lot of ways, like I don't think you've ever seen a more attractive one-on-one wrestling match within the WWE than Bret and Shawn. I think Angle and Benoit will be the only, one of the only few ones that will be on this level. So yeah, got Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart at number 1. That's my top 20 Iron Man matches. So, like I said, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If anyone wants to recommend anything that I missed, then feel free. The match that I think I had the most trouble talking about was Angle and Michaels from Raw Homecoming. Yeah, I would just say that was probably the weakest of the trilogy. I think at the time, you just had to overprotect both guys, especially with Cena as champion. They were wrestling that Taboo Tuesday triple threat. Maybe that's why they went to the no finish. But I would definitely say the no finish probably hurt that more than any other match. And, I would definitely say that the Angle Michaels match and the Angle Joe matches, what started off as like dream matches of the century, you kind of got a little bit fatigued of the combinations by the time you got to the rubber match. And I think that's the other thing that hurt it. It was the rubber match, and they were both Iron Man matches, and they both went 30 minutes. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm out. All right.